All right, welcome into the Donald Trump campaign's first ever Facebook Live pre-debate event. I would call this an event, Boris.
It's a big-time event. No question about it. It's exciting. It's a huge event.
No doubt. I'm Cliff Sims. I'm a communications advisor for the Trump campaign. I'm joined by Boris Epstein.
Epstein, that's right.
A senior advisor for the Trump campaign. We're going to be joined in a few minutes by Eric Trump. He'll be coming in. Looks like Governor Jan Brewer may be joining us as well. We're going to be here for 30 minutes leading up to the debate, and then afterwards we'll be doing about an hour or so of coverage.
Maybe even an hour and a half, depending how it goes.
You don't know.
Could be good.
We're going to have a lot of our top surrogates here, so you'll definitely want to tune in. This is a great thing, Boris, I think, as we've talked many times kind of behind the scenes about the frustration with the media coverage. You can come here and hear it straight from us.
So 96% of donations by media to this presidential cycle have gone to Hillary Clinton. So it's obvious that our side of the story is not being told in an impartial way, Cliff, right? So also, look at the numbers just last week on the negative coverage. Those false stories about Mr. Trump received 23 times more coverage than the real information that came out about Hillary Clinton from the WikiLeaks, from FOIA, that told us that she's for the TPP, for open borders, and part of the big really circle of collusion, corruption, quid pro quo, and pay to play.
And this is not just this is not spin. We are in spin alley, but that's not spin.
Yes.
That was an independent study that showed the top networks did 23-to-1 coverage on negative stories against Mr. Trump compared to coverage of not, I don't even call them negative stories, these are just facts about what Hillary Clinton has done over the past 30 years.
And that's the thing, right? You're talking about, they are covering false accusations, something that's unsubstantiated, uncorroborated against Mr. Trump, and they're ignoring real information, emails, hard facts about Hillary Clinton and her camp disparaging Catholics, for example, taking money from lobbyists on behalf of foreign government, to saying take the money. They love the money. The Clintons, they love the money. They love the paper,
Well, why don't we start there? One of the big things that we've seen over the past 48 hours or so is a big push by the Trump campaign, the hashtag Drain the Swamp.
Drain the Swamp.
It was top trending Twitter, top trending hashtag on Twitter. He rolled out a 5-point ethics reform plan to say he's going to drain the swamp of Washington, D.C. Let's walk through that a little bit, because I think this really strikes at the core of what is the problem with the Hillary Clinton candidacy and her record over the past 30 years. It's all about the money. So let's talk about this ethics reform package.
There's been a revolving door between government, between the executive branch and the legislative branch, and lobbying, right? So those lobbyist special interests, which we now know really control the Clinton camp. They control the Democrat Party. Well, we're going to put an end to that. We're going to drain the swamp. And by the way, it's funny because Washington, D.C. actually was built on a swamp. So it's a nice double entendre there. But there's two roles to that. One is ending that revolving door, but two is ending what the Clinton camp is engaged in and not allowing lobbyists on behalf of foreign governments to bundle money for campaigns.
Well, let's talk about a few of the specifics here. So it starts with we have the foreign lobbyists, gathering money, bundling money for candidates. No more of that. A couple of other key points in it. We saw that he's talking about a constitutional amendment for congressional term limits. That is extremely popular with the voting public. It has been for many years, but it never gains any traction. Will Mr. Trump be able to get that done if he
Absolutely, because that's what the American people want. Right now, you have these elected officials who are staying in Congress for a long time, forever, and they're making the money off the American people, and all they care about is getting reelected. Well, when you have term limits, that will allow the elected officials to be there on behalf of the American people. So we're talking about 6 years for Congress, for the House, and 12 years for the Senate. So 2 terms for the Senate, and you look at 3 terms for the House. That's more than enough to really make their impact felt.
You mentioned a couple of other key parts of this. You talked about the revolving door. One of the things in the plan he talked about no longer allowing senior executive branch officials to ever lobby on behalf of a foreign government. On top of that, a 5-year ban on members of Congress and their staff from coming out and immediately becoming lobbyists.
It's very important, because right now you could go work at the White House, go work in Congress, and then go get out and make millions of dollars lobbying. So that tells you is that if somebody is in Congress or is in the legislative or executive branch, they could be working on behalf of their future employers. And that's not right. That's pay to play. That's exact pay to play. So listen, here we are. We have Governor Brewer with us right now.
Are we on here? I told you we're on. We're talking.
Governor, it's Facebook Live. We're taking it to a new medium. It's an event here, first time this campaign has done this at a debate. It's exciting. It's wonderful to have you as our first guest.
Good to see you, Governor.
The great governor of Arizona, Jan Brewer.
All right, so what are you looking for tonight? What can we expect from Mr. Trump during the debate tonight?
A home run. An absolute home run. I'm very, very excited, just like the entire country, the entire world. And and he's going to show up and get it done.
So
we're going to find victory on November 8th.
You say home run. What would it take tonight for it to be a home run for Donald Trump?
To talk about the issues that we're all concerned about. Donald started a movement, and he started it with immigration and security, our national border security. He talked about jobs, reducing taxes for everyone, the Second Amendment. Those are the kinds of things that Mom, Mary Jo, and John, they're concerned about for their family and for their children.
And Governor, do you think that he'll also talk about the reason why Hillary Clinton cannot be allowed to be president? What are some of the things that have come out recently since really the last debate that have concerned you the most out of WikiLeaks and the FOIA information that's been out there about Hillary Clinton?
Well, Hillary Clinton, I've known her and followed her now for 30 years. I know that she was never a truth teller, but now we know that she certainly doesn't ever tell the truth. And the tapes, the emails, the pay to play, the idea that her emails that were putting our security into danger is outrageous, just absolutely, and criminal. She ought to be criminalized by a court of law for what she has done in regards to that. And about all of those things, she lied about it.
And then Benghazi, to look into people's eyes of parents that they have lost their children and say it was about a video, lied straight to them, and then in Congress, she turns around and says, what difference does it make? Well, it makes a heck of a lot of difference to moms and dads that send their children over there.
And we have one of those mothers here tonight. We have Miss Smith here tonight who lost her son so tragically in Benghazi. And we are doing that in order to bring more light to what Hillary Clinton shut light off from. The fact that her decisions cost people to die and her lies cost people to die.
And by the way, and Hillary has never apologized to Pam, ever, or to any of those parents.
Now, I think you touched on something a few minutes ago about Donald Trump is really talking about issues that families get around the dinner table and talk about. One of those is immigration. And
yes.
You've been on the front line of this for many years now.
I have.
What is it about that particular issue that has resonated so much, and Donald Trump's position on it specifically, that has resonated so much with the American people?
Because people of America love their country and they believe in the rule of law. And with the borders not being secured, we become the recipients of all the crime that's coming in vis-a-vis the cartels. It's the drug cartels, it's the sex trafficking, it's the exploitation of children. It's just rampant. And then they come into our states, and these people are paying their taxes to educate their kids and for roads. And what do we do in Arizona? We pay, my budget when I became governor was $9 billion, and I paid $3 billion of those dollars for incarceration, health care,
upkeep and support.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
And I usually, it just rolls off my tongue, but it's just absolutely out of control. So instead of their kids getting those dollars for education and for public safety, we get to give it all to these people.
Speaking of Arizona, Arizona is a state where the polling is all over the place right now, as you know. Some polls have us up, others have us slightly down to tied. What do you think is going to happen in Arizona? What is so important to those voters in Arizona over the next 3 weeks, starting from today through November 8th, to make sure that Donald Trump does win the state?
We have a ground game going on in Arizona, and we are grassroots. We are the people out there that will go and knock on those doors in 110-degree weather. We are out there making those phone calls, and I ask everybody that I come in contact that when you go to the polls November the 8th, then you find somebody that maybe is not thinking about voting, and you take them to the polls. We work it. I've ran for election 24 times, 24-0 in Arizona. I know how it works. It's that. And then, of course, now, different than what it used to be, is we've got the technology, the social media and stuff. So we are going to have sweet victory. Sweet victory.
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming. Before you go on to do the rest of the spin room fun here, as it always is fun, right?
Yes.
What would you say to the voters of Arizona and all over this country? What should they be watching for tonight? What are you going to be really keying in on in the interaction between the two? Or will it be the moderator, Chris Wallace, that you're really looking at for what kind of questions he asks?
Well, I certainly hope that Donald looks at Hillary and points out the error of her ways and the things that she has said publicly and privately. I hope that becomes a huge issue, because you need somebody that you can trust, and obviously she's not that person. I hope that, again, that we talk about those things that are important as border security, national security, taxes, jobs. He needs to go after Hillary Clinton because she, again, this issue, Boris, of her having a public opinion and a private opinion is beyond the pale. And what we have found out in the last couple of weeks about how deceitful she is ought to be the subject of a lot of the debate tonight. And I would like to see that happen.
Governor, we appreciate you taking the time to join us
Thank
tonight.
you.
It was great.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you in the spin room after it.
Okay.
All right, so we got a couple more minutes here. Boris, let's run through real quick if we can. Let's talk some about the specific issues that are coming up tonight because let's lay out the format a little bit. We got Chris Wallace, who's going to be, we're going to keep the governor on with us for a little bit. All right, Governor, we're going to keep you on. We want to get you in on this too. All right, Chris Wallace is going to be the moderator. We're going to have 6 topics. We're going from debt and entitlements, economy, immigration. Talked about that already. Supreme Court, foreign hotspots, and fitness to be president. Now that's the last issue they're going to go. Fitness to be president, which I thought they worded that in kind of an interesting way.
Are we talking about stamina? Are we talking about energy?
What are we talking about?
What are we talking about?
Fitness to be president.
Well, fitness means everything, from stamina and energy. And what I thought is very interesting that we haven't heard a lot about is the fact that Donald Trump has been out there this whole week, and before every debate, working really hard, bringing the message to the people, doing 3-4 events a day, while Hillary Clinton is maybe napping, right?
What are you looking for on fitness of president?
And I see now the governor's being called there, but we're going to get this take from her. And then
I think that when they talk about fitness, it's not only physical fitness, but it's mental fitness. And we know that she doesn't qualify very high up on the ranks on either one of those. We need.
Hey, let's tighten up the shot a little bit. Let's let the governor go. We got to take a break here for about 10 seconds or about a minute. We're going to get a message from Ivanka Trump. You're going to want to see this, so sit tight with us. We'll be back right after the break with Eric Trump.
it's going to be exciting. We're going to have a great show coming up now, and we're looking forward to it. And we know exactly that tonight, Mr. Trump is going to have a strong message, and he'll deliver to the American people. Absolutely.
Tonight is my father's final debate. It's going to be an incredible evening, and I know that my father will make us proud. Before he gets on stage, we're going to give him a list of supporters who are ready for change. Supporters that went the extra mile and made a contribution today. It'll make him so proud to see how many hardworking Americans are ready to make America great again. You're the reason he decided to run for president in the first place. There's still time to get your name on that list. Contribute now before he takes the stage.
Hillary Clinton won't change Washington. She's been there 30 years. Taxes went up, terrorism spread, jobs vanished. But special interests and Washington insiders thrived. Donald Trump will turn Washington upside down, day one. Real change that puts Americans first. A vote for Hillary is a vote for more of the same. A vote for Donald Trump is a vote for change that makes America great again.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Vice Presidential debates.
All right, welcome back into our first ever Facebook Live event here on Donald Trump's Facebook page. Doing pre-debate coverage, doing post-debate as well, so stick around for that. We got Boris Epstein. He is the Epstein. It's on me about this every time. Boris Epstein,
Every day we're
senior
working hard
advisor to the Trump
Stein,
campaign.
like Stein has in beer.
Or Einstein. Einstein like Einstein.
That's right.
I think it's safe to say that the two will never be confused, although I do love you, Boris.
Hey,
We got General Flynn on with us now, former head of the DIA,
Yeah.
4-star general.
Three-star Lieutenant General.
Three-star Lieutenant General Flynn is on with us now. One of the parts of the debate tonight that I'm really looking forward to is the foreign hotspots portion of the debate. Now, this is right in your wheelhouse. I think it's right in Donald Trump's wheelhouse as well. What should we be looking for in that portion of the debate?
I think he's going to talk about the Middle East, the unraveling of the situation in the Middle East. He may bring up the current operations in Mosul, the northern city in Iraq. He may bring up the fact that we had a warship, a U.S. naval warship, shot by missiles in the last week 3 different times by these Houthi rebels in Yemen that are backed by Iran. He may bring up the Iranian nuclear deal, the likelihood of bringing up Russia and what the deal is and what's going on with Russia. I don't think that you're going to hear too much about the Asia-Pacific theater because that doesn't seem to resonate. That hasn't come up in any of the debates. I do think that that's something that ought to be talked about is the situation with North Korea, the South China Sea. So there's a whole bunch of topics that they could go to. I think most of the issues, though, are going to revolve around what's happening in the Middle East, just because the situation is just literally unraveling as we speak.
And as you look at the Middle East, we've had 8 years now of Obama policies.
Right.
And you couldn't call them really Clinton-Obama policies,
Yep.
right? So Donald Trump is going to have to make a pretty direct comparison, stark contrast between what we've seen and where he wants it to go. You obviously played a huge part in terms of foreign policy. How do you see that contrast playing out?
Yeah, I think that Donald needs to talk about, when he talks about Hillary Clinton, she's the architect of failure. She is the architect of failure. Where she has failed, Donald Trump will fix. Donald Trump is a builder. He's a builder of relationships. He's a builder of, of just everything that we're talking about right now around the world. It's to try to get, to take the leadership that the United States has not shown in 8 years of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Secretary Kerry now, this deficit of leadership that we have around the world. I mean, the uncertainty by many of the friends and allies that we've had in the past. I mean, there's so much uncertainty right now. People don't know where the United States stands on anything. And under this administration, along with this architect of failure in Hillary Clinton, their whole idea has been to lead from behind. Well, when you're leading from behind, you're following. And the United States should never follow. We should always be the leader. We should always be that light on the hill, and frankly, that's what Donald Trump's going to bring back.
General, for many years, you've been involved in the top echelon of American military, the intelligence community, the whole nine. So you've had a lot of experience with what it looks like for a commander-in-chief, what you're looking for in a commander-in-chief. When you look at Donald Trump, what is it that sticks out and says, that's a man who we need to be our commander-in-chief?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so the couple of the characteristics, someone who listens to his advisors, and Donald Trump is a great, great listener. And I don't think that comes out in a lot of the nonsense that you hear out of the media. He's a great listener. He really takes in and absorbs the information and the advice that he gets. He is also very decisive. Donald Trump is a very decisive type of leader. I mean, when he gets the amount of information that he needs to get, he then basically is ready to make a decision. And the other thing, I think the real good thing about a commander-in-chief hat that he'll wear is that he will allow his subordinate leaders to do their jobs. So he'll tell his military, execute. Here's the mission, this is what I want you to do, and go do it. Instead of constantly looking over their shoulder, tying their hands behind their back with lousy rules of engagement. I mean, there's so many things right now that our military is frustrated by with this administration, and frankly have been for the last 8 years, with this total failure of foreign policy.
As you look at the next 8 years of America's story, right? The story of this great country. Where do you see the hot spots moving forward? Do you see it continuing in the Middle East? Obviously, that won't be resolved anytime soon. But what are some of the other issues that you see in Boko Haram in Nigeria, which Hillary Clinton did nothing to solve?
Nothing.
Are there other parts of the world that you think are very important for the viewers at home to keep their focus on during the debate, during the next 3 weeks of the election, but also going forward?
Yeah, great question. One of the areas that has not gotten any play in the debates, and frankly doesn't get talked about in the media, and this is another failed foreign policy. A lot of people may remember the phrase "pivot to the Pacific," which was a foreign policy thing under Hillary Clinton. The pivot to the Pacific is an absolute failure. It's where we were supposed to demonstrate and basically shift our weight over to the Pacific region, because China, the rise of China, the rise of India. So as we look forward, the unraveling mess that is in the Middle East right now is going to continue to be a festering problem that we're going to have to deal with. But we must start looking to the Pacific, and we must start providing leadership out in the Asia-Pacific basin. And that's with countries like South Korea, Japan, Australia. Those are 3 key friends. We've got a nut in Kim Jong-un in North Korea with potential for nuclear weapons. We've got a China that's rising, and we have all the problems in the South China Sea. And we have, again, another pool, another group of countries out there. The Philippines is one, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, that are uncertain about where is the U.S. leadership at. What is our role?
If you look at the history of the Clintons on Asia, you have to talk about the North Korean deal. Right?
Absolutely. Bill Clinton, most people forget, just like the nuclear deal that Obama and Clinton started, and they struck here in the last couple of years, that is failing. I mean, it's failing as we speak. Bill Clinton cut a deal with the North Koreans in the early 90s, in the beginning of his administration, and now, to say they'll never have nuclear weapons, and now they're about to have nuclear weapons.
The same woman actually negotiated both.
Exactly, she was involved in both of those.
Negotiated both those trade deals. So they didn't learn from their mistakes
Right.
at all. So.
Right.
We got a couple more minutes here. I wanted to make sure that we talked about what's happened over the last couple of days with General Cartwright. Being charged with
right. General Cartwright was the number 2 when he retired. He was the number 2 military officer in the United States military. He was the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was just essentially found guilty of lying to the FBI under oath, and he's going to be charged. The likelihood of him going to jail for a period of time, maybe 6 months, could be longer. I don't know. Whatever the decision is very high. What General Cartwright did is like 1% of what Hillary Clinton did in terms of lying to the FBI when she was being questioned by the FBI for her use or abuse of a private server and classified information. So here, another military officer, Petraeus is another one that you could actually throw into this category. But so General Cartwright is going to find himself, convicted of a felony, going to ruin his life, ruin his career, and Hillary Clinton did 10 times worse. And she could potentially be a president. Give me a break. I mean, when is enough going to be enough for the American public? So however many thousands of people are watching this right now, I mean, anybody that is going to vote for somebody who has essentially committed a crime and abusing and losing classified information, I mean, I would be court-martialed for it and should be.
And something that the viewers may not know, you were head of the DIA under the Obama administration.
Right. I was appointed by President Obama twice to be the Assistant Director of National Intelligence, and I spent a year doing that. And then he reappointed me as the Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency for 2 years, and essentially I worked for the President for a period of 3 years. He appointed me.
So this is criticism. Against the administration.
Yeah, I mean, I was the senior military intelligence officer in the Department of Defense for the country while I was the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. And I saw so many dumb decisions being made and so many things that were wrong, the direction of the country. And I stayed very out of it because you're a loyal officer. I definitely gave my opinion inside. And that hurt me a bit, and that's okay because I can look myself in the mirror and feel no problems. I did exactly what I was taught to do as a young leader, which is tell the truth.
Well, General, we appreciate your leadership in this country. Appreciate having you on Team Trump.
Yeah, this is great.
Great to have you
Thanks,
on
Cliff.
Facebook Live.
It's great, Boris. Thanks a lot. Great seeing you. Thanks, everybody.
Back after the debate.
Was accredited by the LCME and will begin admitting students in the fall.
Alan Cotter, I'm President and CEO of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority.
Welcome to the Thomas and Mack Center, home of the Runnin' Rebels. If you squint through the lights and you look up into the rafters, you can see some of our banners, many championship banners, one national championship banner.